Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
This man never ceases to amaze me. Our friend, Mr. John Riggio, joining us here. Only an architect, CEO of his own company, does amazing work, professional tennis player, so many titles that he's now adding author. This is fantastic. I've known him for years. He totally surprised me just now. Tell us the big news.
Yes, still, I wrote a book and a life story about my tennis and my architect profession. And this is because of our podcast that we've been making over a number of years now. So I compiled everything together and I made this very nice autobiography, and it's already published. I'll show you the cover of the book here. And it's my own court, the life story of tennis legend John Riggio. So I have the description right on the cover. This is the back cover in here. Just says very simply the story, and it includes my architecture profession in there too. It's available on Amazon, and you can buy it at the other stores like Barnes & Noble, and you could read it on things like Goodreads.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Utopia.
Okay, hold on. When did you start writing this book, okay? Because you didn't tell me anything about it.
It wasn't too long ago. The book was published in February, and it took me about 3 months. I didn't have that long to really put the book together.
Okay.
I was able to get it together, and it totals to about 238 pages. And it includes from the start, when I was young, learning tennis.
Wow.
Going through my school years.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes through the end of my tennis playing. And it continues on to my architect profession. I talk about those years that are continuing on.
Wow.
And how I also started to return to tennis and get in contact with some old sponsors. And I have it in the book. I have some pictures in the book too. Now, the book is also on Kindle. I have Kindle here. I could share it with you now.
Yeah.
We can go through the chapters real quick.
Please. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
So let me share this on the screen.
Go for it.
Okay, so this here is showing the Kindle version of the book. You could buy it on Barnes & Noble. It's only $9.99.
Oh my goodness.
Open up your Kindle. It's right there. This is the front cover of the book is on the Kindle.
Okay.
And then as you go through, it just goes through the basic things here. It shows a table of contents. So it's total 13 chapters plus the introduction.
Oh.
And just to go through here, the introduction is very nice. And then the next chapters are the origins of my tennis journey, the rise of a tennis dream, the courts of triumph, my own tennis center, playing in Manhattan, on the road and back, moving up and outdoors, an international view, my last big tournament run, the end of the end, and architect career and marriage, then returning to tennis and onward, and then in conclusion. Then in conclusion, I just put together some things about the book that you might not have put together when you read it. And that ends the book. The book is about, according to Kindle, you could read it maybe in just like 2 hours.
Okay.
And so I think here, let me just go through some of the chapters. So this is the introduction, just goes through saying just some basic things to interest you about the book. Then here I included some things about starting when I was born and my parents, and even included my grandparents and great-grandparents. And that's because of different things that happened in the book that they wanted to know about my heritage also when I was at the point of playing at the National Tennis Center. So I included those extra points in here in the book. I might not have included them in the book if there wasn't all that things happened, but I did put them in the book. And then from here...
I love it. Roslyn, that's right. You grew up in Roslyn. I love Roslyn!
Well, what happened is I was born in Roslyn in the hospital there, but I grew up in Jericho, the hamlet of Jericho's right next to Hicksville, Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I talk about also when I learned tennis with my parents, and I was very young. And they had a whole set of these old tennis rackets. And I talk about the old tennis rackets here. They had this pair of tennis rackets. One was a male, and they had one female. So the male was Marty Rezin, the female was Ivan Gulagan. And I remember looking at these rackets when I was young, and my parents at that time was telling me how I could play pro tennis. They could tell that I had the ability to play there. And then I just give some background information. And I go through here also as I went to school, and some things about my athletic ability started to come out when I was young, and the whole thing with the different little experiences, things with gymnastics. I then talk about how I started to get into tennis. Since I was sponsored by the local pro shop with Patrick Mulrooney, I then went and tried to find a way to get into playing pro tennis. And I was successful in doing it by creating my own tennis club in middle school. And this started to really work. And I explained all about how I slowly started to improve, signed a contract with the National Tennis Center with my coach. And then after that, I show how then we picked up Prince. So I had three people backing me.
Wow.
Then here I tell a whole story of having my tennis name, Jack Racket, which was officially with the ATP. Now, I think one thing in this book that I didn't point out, but I was using the name Jack Racket, but a lot of my friends that I met at that time, they were really using their natural name. And I think over the years, a lot of them received a stage name. But then a lot of what happened is at this point is I just took everything and just put it under my natural name. Since I had to change names over the years, I just put the whole thing under my natural name. But I was really the first one to use a stage name when I was young at this point, which is very interesting. In fact, that name Jack was pretty good. It was working very good, and it had to come to an end. There was some controversy, and that's about it. And then I talk about different things like my education that I had already talked about on different podcasts about the thing with the computer technology that was brand new, the aviation industry that was brand new. And then I even show my athletic scores here with my Dr. DePasqua, which was he was a aviation doctor, and he was also a sport doctor for other pro sport players. And this was my body weight, pressure, pulse, hearing, vision, and 3% body fat. And I was 5'11", so that was in 1986.
Wow.
So then this here, I go through all those different things, and I go through explaining different things about my journey, learning how to play tennis better and better, moving up through the tennis rankings. And also in that, I include my different things about my education. While this whole thing with tennis is going, there's still training for a career, going into one of the careers. And then I explain that I chose the architecture career starting in 1987. And that worked pretty good. I think from that point, from this book, goes from 1987 then to 1999 when my playing ended. And I was working as an architect on the side and doing the tennis also. So it shows here also by different experiences where Clemson University was backing me and all the different problems that were happening, why I didn't go down to South Carolina and instead was playing with the backing of South Carolina right on court 33 in New York City. So then I show all the different things in here about my girlfriend, Delilah. There's all kinds of different things, even about my neighbor, explaining that he used to see me on television all the time and used to come out when I won the matches, and I used to tell him about the game and everything. Yes. So this is all in here. I show some different pictures showing court 33 is in there. And then this here is on court 33, the story of really when I was knighted, and that is why I gave the background on my family heritage. And I added this in here, which worked out really good. I think maybe when they led up to this, maybe they were trying to double cross me, trying to make an excuse why they don't want me there, or, just so they could win the matches and I wouldn't play there anymore. So, but it didn't really work out that way. And this is showing what was happening. From this time also, there's a lot of fast-paced things going on with the courts, things with Richard Branson. Then I have the knighting. And from there, things, if you read, are working my way. But there are still some things going on with big lawsuits against the people with the ATP, that they had really big lawsuits. One thing I didn't put into this book, but is very interesting for business, is with those big lawsuits, particularly this one at the 1987 U.S. Open, of why they kept me out. And of course, the idea was to keep me out so someone else could win the 87 U.S. Open. And since there was a big lawsuit, and of course their ATP lost the lawsuit, had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, agreeing to build 3 stadiums.
Wow.
But during that time, I was really supposed to also have another lawyer,
Okay.
which is called a duple lawyer or sub lawyer.
Okay.
Now that lawyer would pick up the damages that happened to me. Now, since that's
Wow.
obviously there was a lot of stress happening to me, trying to ruin my career, I was really supposed to have a duple lawyer. I think over the years I did talk to some lawyers about working in that capacity. Some lawsuits they didn't want to take, but overall I didn't really have a duple lawyer to follow up these big court cases. I think one lawyer I talked to that isn't in the book, but is really big, is the lawyer Michael Cohen that you saw on television. He was involved with some of these different things with my contract, and I talked to him in person. He was saying the same thing, that a career in lawyer is very good for me. And the same idea, picking up a duple lawyer. He wasn't a duple lawyer to do that kind of work.
Okay.
But that is one interesting thing that was going on. So, so that's what I was saying. I know so many people that you see on television all the time. And so this here was also going through here about the Fisher Open and how I won the Fisher Open. And I explained the different things here where it was on television, and then I came home and my neighbor was congratulating me about it. He saw me win it, and it was really big. And then it says here about the U.S. Open. So let's skip ahead. So this is the picture in 1987 U.S.
Okay.
Open, where I'm there, right there in the tennis center, and they have a picture, and this is a photograph of me there.
Aww.
And then this year playing in Manhattan. So from there, after that whole thing cleared, I went to Sutton East, won the Fisher Open, was playing a lot of tournaments, moved over to Manhattan. And this, I explained the whole thing with the Sutton East in Manhattan. And so I think one thing about the Sutton East, which was interesting, was the whole thing with the tennis center, trying to make it big, with the grandstand. And I show here the the car that they had outside there for me. They leased this car.
Mm-hmm.
And this was some of the big tournaments that I won: American Airlines, Manhattan Open, Eastern Tournament, London Queens, Paris Bercy, Lisbon, Portugal.
Wow.
And Roland Garros, I didn't win the Roland Garros because I had to go over to Spain. So it was, since we were doing so many tournaments, I did not attend the final for that. And then just shows some different tournaments here. This year is where the grandstand was relocated here in Times Square. And then I talked about all the different things that were happening there. A lot of things were happening with my tennis. There was some bad things going on there was a lot of grief going on, and different things, like I had explained, which was affecting my playing continuation of the little stops. Then I just showed myself here in front of my car. This is where my family's house is. And then this here is stories about different tennis playing. I talked about the different people I met during tennis. Some of them are pretty big names. Sam Asghari. He's was married to
Yes.
Britney Spears in the
That does sound
Cowboys.
familiar. Yep.
I used to know them in person, and
Wow.
they're over there. And this is some people here. Let's see what we have here. So yeah, then I talk about Perot and all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of people I have here with meeting Joe Biden and Joe Biden's son
Wow.
and all kinds of things like that. So I know all kinds of people, all different political parties were involved with this. They all like me. I explained that over here. And then the thing with the different names still goes on here. They still have the different names. And all kinds of different stories with the coaches, how I was playing there. This was another card. At the next one, they had this F1 McLaren at the Old Westbury for me too. That was just a symbol of my playing. And then I explained how this whole thing rolled over to where they had the Mitsubishi bought my contract
Aw.
at 100 million and put me number one as a contract in tennis. And then this year, I explained some different things. So while I was writing this book, I started to really remember all the little details at the end. I had forgot about them. I
Yeah.
had to add a few chapters onto the book. And I remember the all the sponsors after Mitsubishi, because Mitsubishi was a big thing, ended up with a big lawsuit because of that coach. And the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, I needed a duple lawyer on that one too. And but that turned out wasn't the end of my tennis. After I figured out how to get Reebok, Adidas onto the sponsors, and then Leona Helmsley picked up the whole thing. I was back playing again, and that was really good because my contract went up to 120 million, and then it started to go
Wow.
up again. I explained in here the different sponsors. And then I just talked about some things with, as far as those international conversations with the Reebok was in Britain back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also at this point I was also discussing Delilah and unfortunate her passing on at that point too. And this is some different things about my trip to Hawaii
Hmm.
as Carlos Scipio. And then from here, the next one was the last big tournament run was the whole thing with Leona Helmsley. So that looked really good.
Wow.
And then the end was really with the last sponsor who was interested was really Mr. Donald Trump.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought this was a very interesting point in the book because I think this was sort of since I spent so many hours working as an architect and was in this construction industry, it's very interesting, because Donald Trump is
Yeah.
also involved with construction. And one of my architects I was working for on the side was also doing business selling his family's apartments to Mr. Trump. So that's how this very interesting point in my career, although it was the end of the career. In 1999, I had already given my rackets away, and this point I was trying to come back, but there wasn't enough support there to really make it happen. They
Yeah.
needed another administrative coach and some other things. So that ended the point in the career. And this is my photograph at that time. I was still very thin and young. I have
You still are. Stop.
tan
Stop.
on because I was going to the beach at that time.
Of course.
I was a licensed architect. I was just licensed the year before 1998. And so that really what happened is the whole thing, went ahead where I was pretty much just going ahead with my architect career. So things were working pretty good. And then I explained some interesting things at the end where things were a little isolated. And so then the next thing was picking up was my architect career, which I've been talking about and showing how I was able to get my license and then open my own office right away. I was able to really achieve. When I started my work, they really liked my work. It was excellent. And I got a lot of referrals, and I started to do a lot of work in the 5 boroughs
Yeah.
in New York City.
Wow.
Which started to really just expand my career. And that's what started to happen. I slowly started to move west from Long Island into New York City, and now I'm here in New Jersey. And that is shown in the book here. I explained how I had to work very hard in college and was able to achieve and receive some nice awards. And just show over the years about my networking, the business networking I had described. And I was still with a nice group of people. Just show some people here that I knew here. Just show in the book about Justin Berber, Mark Zuckerberg,
Yeah.
people like that I was meeting. Then this year I shared my marriage, which is
Aw.
really through my architect profession. And so that was giving me a more stable, wider things were going
Yeah.
on. And this is now at this point, my return to tennis sort of starts to happen. I visit China
Oh my goodness.
and I
Haven't been
meet
this.
my wife's cousin who knows the whole story about my tennis playing. So this started to
Aw.
reawaken some things. And this is from here, just going through my daughter and then here doing some videos with the podcasts, business news,
Yay.
and showing my playing on the weekends here. My
Awesome. I
meetup
love
group.
it.
Yes, showing that the group is now over 1,700 people.
Wow.
And this is just going through here, just show some pictures of me playing. And this is us here on one of the podcasts.
Yay. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yay. Look, you gave credit to us.
And then this here is going and meeting my sponsor from so many years ago in Japan. So
Oh
this
my
here is
goodness.
meeting Mr. Shigeyuki Nishio.
Yeah.
And so this here shows then in conclusion, I just point out a few points.
Sure.
Not all of them are there, but I show a lot of different things about what's happening when I was explaining about tennis career and having a architect career and why that is, and putting all those different things together for the reader. And this is just the recent picture. It's a very nice professional photograph of me. And then I just show here, then here is, I just go through showing some tournaments, and then I give a rundown of the tournament levels. So someone could learn about the different tournament levels, starting from level 5.5. So when they're watching TV and they see the different tournaments, they get an idea what level tournaments they are, how the tournaments work. If they ever hear things like national tournaments, things like that. So that I just put that in there for them. And then I give a basic rundown of my playing, just give some numbers here, my contract prices, and just that my contract leveled off at $150 million, plus those payments that were made monthly. And it was getting offered at $200 million at that price. And then I just go through some different things about my coaches. I list some of the records. I have more ATP records and awards, but I just don't remember all of them. I just put the ones that I clearly remember. And so that's what I put in the book. And I think that is
Wow.
really shows the whole book. The digital version of the book here, it doesn't have the back cover. It only shows the front cover, which is the usual thing for the book. And I dedicated the book to my daughter.
Ah.
Because since we made those trips and we were successful,
Yeah.
and then also playing in the park. I mean, when I started playing again in the park, because we went there to the children's park to go play with the other players in Astoria Park in New York City, and
Amazing.
so everything was really good. And from that, I started playing again and got back into tennis. I was able to lose a lot of weight. I was way overweight when I started playing tennis. I went all the way up to a weight that was maybe like 280 pounds, 260 pounds, and I lost a lot of weight. I was able to bring it down like 100 pounds. So
No.
much healthier. I really ballooned up in my weight, and now back into tennis, I was able to reduce my weight down and get into pretty good shape. I think my weight has dipped down as low as 173.
Oh,
So
my
that is pretty
goodness.
good for my height. And so it's, I think at this age, my weight is sort of goes up and down just a little, but it isn't too bad. And I'm not really overweight anymore. And so things are much better.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so proud of you. I want to congratulate you on all your success. I mean, clearly a lifetime of it, the family, the work, the hard work, the tennis, the architecture. Congratulations. And now we have a book. Thank you so much. My goodness. Honor to have you here. And really, it's been such a pleasure working with you, getting to know you, and full steam ahead. What's next for you?
Yeah, I'm working on all kinds of different things now that I have the book. I'm already communicating with other authors. This is a whole new thing happening for me. So there are exciting things going on. And of course, this book, just from going through looking at the listings of the book now,
Yeah.
I'm keeping the book on where people could also read it as part of architecture.
Amazing.
So anyone who's working in the different professions
God
in
bless.
construction, they could read this and they could learn all kinds of things. It's an exciting story and it's good
Well,
to read.
thank you so much. Pleasure having you here. Hopefully, we'll connect once again one day, and I'm sure you'll pop up again soon. Thank you so much for being here. And John, just tell us how we can reach you.
Yes, you can just go onto my webpage,
Yay.
www.johnriggio.com. If you'd
Mm-hmm.
like my tennis stories, you can go onto
See
Facebook
them
and
all.
look on John Riggio Pro Tennis Player, and I have all links there to those stories.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Best of luck. And thank you again for including us and, little part of your big world. And congratulations on all your success. And so humble, so modest. So love that about you. Thank you so much,
Yes,
John.
you're
Really.
welcome, Jill. Nice talking to
Bye.
you.
You
Very nice to see you.
too.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth,
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese.
followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.